Ivor, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Let's talk about that first. This trade war between China and America, where exactly does it leave Africa?
This trade war is putting African governments in a very difficult position. It's very sad that the developing world is having to choose between America and China, and I think it's completely unnecessary. Africa needs investment from wherever it can get investment. And there's a unique opportunity in the world right now for America and China to work together in the development of Africa. America has a huge amount to bring to the African continent, as does China. And the danger here is that a perception is created through the whole BRICS dialogue that there is a polarization and that African governments are going to have to choose between the two. And I think that could be an absolute catastrophe for the continent. If we're in the middle of a war between two giants, we mustn't be the casualties.
Absolutely. And how would China or America begin to create a relationship with each other so that we can benefit from that relationship?
So right now, China has a dominant position of in Africa, and they have that dominant position because there was a vacuum created by a withdrawal of European capital and a total vacuum of American capital for many, many years. The United States is looking at this and saying, we're behind in this race and we need to catch up to China and we need to push China out of the way in order for us to have relevance in Africa. And that's absolutely not the dialogue that they should be having. This is a case of America turning around to African governments and saying, look, we're late. We're sorry we're late. We're interested in Africa. We see huge value in the development of Africa. You're a big market for our products in terms of the America first and re-establish industry in America. There's a big opportunity in Africa. Let's create a new relationship and let's complement China rather than trying to make this a war and a conflict, which then puts African governments into a situation where they have to choose one way or the other to the detriment of their own people.
And is there opportunity for countries within the African continent to assist here? I mean, as you said earlier on, there has been an exclusionary kind of conversation going on when it comes to the trade war. We did hear Minister Rob Davies talk about issues that may come up with the AGOA and the steel tariffs and the negative implications that could take place there. How do we turn around that conversation?
This is all about dialogue, and I think that the bilateral relationships between African governments and the United States and the bilateral relationship between African governments and China have to continue in a constructive fashion. Africa is important to the Americans as much as it's important to the Chinese. Both of these huge economies need our raw materials, they need our human capital, they need our markets. And for that reason, African governments, it's a psychological issue. Either you decide that you're going to be in the middle of this, or you do what South Africa has done in the past and probably needs to be guided back to doing in the future, and that is to stay non-aligned. We're allowed to be friends with everybody, and every African government needs to be given the right to be friends with everybody. We don't have to be polarized, and by doing that we can help this dialogue and fix the problem.
Another theme that's been discussed at this year's summit is the fourth industrial revolution and really its contribution to the growth of the BRICS member states' economies. What do you think the relationship here between the member states is and the industrialization of these emerging markets?
So this is a topic that's very close to my heart. I mean, my organization has set up what is probably one of the first fourth industrial revolution aircraft manufacturing plants in the world. Right here in South Africa, we produce one of the most advanced high-performance military aircraft in the world using 100% fourth industrial revolution methodologies and philosophies. And the rest of the world is looking at us and saying, hey, we should have been innovating here. How come this is happening in Africa? And I think that there's a lot of innovation within the BRICS economies out of necessity. You know, in the developed economies, the fourth industrial revolution is a nice idea, but there are already such well-established industrial complexes that they'd almost have to dismantle what they've already got to go fourth industrial revolution. We're in a situation in most of the BRICS economies where we need to leapfrog current day technology, which is why fourth industrial revolution philosophies are so important to our growth and development. It helps us speed things up, it helps us do things much more cost effectively, and it helps us share industrialization. The good old-fashioned days when one country was dominant in manufacturing a certain kind of product and another country was only the consumer are over. Today we have to share labor, we have to share jobs, we have to truly open up fourth industrial revolution manufacturing to allow everybody to make something and everybody to design something, and that way we create true economic cooperation between countries. And BRICS is a great mechanism to do this, and I'm starting to see that happen right around us right now.